Tesla's disruptor-in-chief just fired his loudest shot yet at Washington, D.C. and Donald Trump. Elon Musk has unveiled the America Party, pledging a nationwide ballot push to crack the Republican-Democrat duopoly. Announced barely a year before the midterms, the move could scramble every poll that you've seen and test just how restless voters really are. But can a billionaire-backed Bitcoin-friendly startup really change Congress? And what impact would this have on markets? Stay tuned as we dive deep down this rabbit hole. My name is Lewis, and this is one video that you cannot afford to miss. So let's start from the beginning. In a rapid-fire burst of Independence Weekend posts, Elon Musk voiced heavy criticism of big governments, US politicians, and the reigning two-party political system in the US. In some recent back and forth with President Trump, Musk framed Trump's newly signed $3.3 trillion One Big Beautiful Bill as fiscal vandalism, declaring that a fresh political movement would give people back their freedom if the two big parties would not. Ultimately, Musk decided to put out a poll on X asking if people wanted independence from the current two-party system. With the majority voting yes, he decided to roll out the America Party, promising to offer an alternative to the Republican-Democrat regime. So far, the America Party's platform looks like fiscal hawkery with a kind of techno-libertarian flair. Draft talking points call for a stricter deficit cap, less government waste, fast-track approvals for clean tech projects, and also clear lanes for digital assets. This all places the brand somewhere between conservatism and Silicon Valley futurism. It may sound fanciful in the face of the current two-party system, but Musk is being pragmatic. As he stated on X, quote, "One way to execute on this would be to laser focus on just 2 or 3 Senate seats and 8 to 10 House districts. That would be enough to serve as the deciding vote on contentious laws, ensuring that they serve the true will of the people." Turning that rhetoric into real ballots, though, that is the hard part. The America Party would likely target toss-up states that typically have close elections, such as Georgia. But in the case of Georgia, for example, the state requires more signatures than most in order to qualify a new political party, specifically 1% of registered voters from the last election, translating to around 39,000 in this scenario. So, mounting a 50-state ballot drive would be a massive challenge, even for Elon Musk. And he has yet to get cracking on the official steps forward for party formation. A statement of organization for the America Party was filed with the Federal Election Commission on July 6th, but Musk has since claimed that the paperwork to be false. Help, however, is lining up. Political veterans from Andrew Yang's Forward Party and the Libertarian Party have begun to share advice and strategy. The idea here could be to pool resources to win seats and sort ideological wrinkles later. Speculation is also growing that it may be possible for the America Party to lure in sitting members of Congress with safe seats. Modern super PACs, independent political committees that can potentially spend unlimited funds to support candidates, can accelerate media blitzes, but signature drives, candidate vetting, and precinct staffing remain stubbornly analog tasks that typically require armies of volunteers. But although the America Party has its work cut out, the major parties may be forced to recalibrate. A recent Quantus Insights survey found that around 40% of registered voters would be very or somewhat likely to support the America Party, showing some material public appetite for third-party alternatives, likely due to widespread dissatisfaction with the two-party system. And while support for the America Party grows, the party itself has made clear its support for BTC. Asked on X if the America Party would back Bitcoin, Musk replied, quote, "Fiat is hopeless." So, yes. He has already said donations will be accepted in BTC and has even teased the idea of holding Bitcoin on the party's balance sheet. The Tesla CEO is, of course, no stranger to crypto's leading asset, with Tesla currently holding 11,509 BTC, worth around $1.2 billion. So it appears support for the America Party and BTC go hand in hand. If the party gains traction and grabs headlines, BTC is likely to grab even more mindshare, and significant buying pressure could follow. And if you want to make the most of that scenario, then check out the Coin Bureau deals page. That's where you'll find sign-up bonuses of up to $100,000, trading fee discounts of up to 50%, and cashback deposits of up to 75% on crypto exchanges. Now, these deals, they won't be around for long, so take advantage of them ASAP using the link below or the QR code on the screen. Now, as mentioned earlier, Musk has stated that his America Party will start small, arguing that a razor-thin margin in Congress could allow a third bloc to have a major impact on US politics without winning the White House. That strategy echoes and diverges from the few times when outsiders truly rattled the US elections in the past. As far back as 1912, former President Theodore Roosevelt bolted from the Conservative Party, formed the Progressive Bull Moose Party, and captured 27% of the popular vote, plus 88 electoral votes, enough to split Republicans and hand the presidency to Democrat Woodrow Wilson. George Wallace tried out the third party playbook in 1968. Running under the American Independent banner, he peeled off 13% of the vote and 46 electoral votes, hoping to deny both major parties an outright majority so the House would broker a deal, though Richard Nixon ultimately did win outright. Most recently, and probably most comparable to Elon Musk's efforts, we had billionaire Ross Perot in 1992. Armed with primetime infomercials and a promise to slash the deficit, Perot pulled in 19% of ballots, the strongest popular vote haul for any post-war outsider. This spurred both parties to embrace balanced budget talk for the rest of the decade. Perot never won an electoral vote, but his Reform Party lingered long enough for a young Donald Trump to briefly seek its nomination in 2000, even appearing on the California primary ballot. Proof that third-party ripples can echo for years, to put it mildly. Not every insurgency formed a new line on the ballot, however. Libertarian-leaning Congressman Ron Paul stayed inside the Republican primaries in 2008 and 2012, yet still generated tens of millions in small donations. By 2015, Paul was championing Bitcoin before most had even heard of it. His grassroots network live on today, particularly in crypto circles, showing that a campaign doesn't have to rack up electors to seed a movement. Now, two things become clear when we look at previous instances of third-party runs. First, outsider waves have an impact when visceral issues occupy the mindshare of the electorate. Second, ballot math is brutal. No third force has had a long life, and arguably only Roosevelt won an impactful number of electoral votes. But Musk's seat sniper plan acknowledges that reality. By aiming first at a dozen or so winnable congressional districts, he hopes to repeat the pressure point successes of the past without crashing headlong into the Electoral College wall. Whether technocratic deficit hawkery and Bitcoin boosterism prove potent enough to pry voters from their usual alliances will decide if the America Party will have an impact or become another footnote on the list of would-be disruptors. And whether you get our next video as soon as it drops depends on whether you're subscribed, which it appears that many of you are not. So be sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification button and give the video a like if you want to communicate a vote for more content like this. Having seen that third parties could have a material impact, what parallels can we draw between the America Party and the rebels of the past? Well, you'll recall one of the most successful gambits came from IT billionaire Ross Perot back in 1992, who had deep pockets and even deeper influence. Of course, Musk himself has no shortage of money and influence, and could be the modern-day equivalent. With an estimated net worth of over $300 billion, he wields more personal capital than every third-party contender ever combined, and he owns the social media bullhorn that can broadcast campaign messages to hundreds of millions of people for free. Still, cash can't sign petitions, and Musk himself will not be the one running for office. Election lawyers have been quoted throughout the last week warning that new parties face mountains of paperwork. Congressional races can be just as tough as presidential ballots, so Musk's sniper strategy doesn't exempt him from the grind. Even with all of its resources and developing political relationships, the America Party will likely have to prove that it could turn digital enthusiasm into door-knocking volunteers. Theodore Roosevelt filled town squares in 1912, and Ross Perot inspired county-level United We Stand clubs in 1992. Hashtags alone won't canvass the streets and rally the masses. Every third-party effort that left a dent rode one visceral grievance, whether it was trust busting in 1912 or deficit panic in 1992. As it stands, Musk's main gripes appear to be the US deficit and government spending. And while these are undoubtedly issues that need addressing, both polling research and a cursory glance at one's X feed will reveal the broader issues such as inflation and the economy are far ahead of the government deficit or crypto when it comes to voter concerns. In the simplest of terms, it would appear, based on history, that the America Party would need some slight tweaks to its branding and messaging if it wants to be successful in winning seats at the next midterm elections. Failing that, there is another approach available. As we've touched on earlier, some pundits assert that Musk could convince members holding safe seats in the House to switch parties. While this would not result in a powerful cohort driving legislation, winning 10 seats in the House could enable the America Party to block what it deems to be bad legislation. And whichever approach Musk takes, the map itself also remains unforgiving. Musk is effectively conceding the ceiling of the presidency by aiming first at Congress. Flip a handful of seats, influence the balance of power, and create impact. It is a play for leverage, at least for now. Beyond the potential efforts to flip politicians with existing seats, a relatively unlikely avenue for Musk to take, the America Party's leverage only materializes if the public mood sours enough to make voters shop outside of the two-party aisle. But several possible futures may bring this to pass. Top of the list is a major economic slowdown. A May poll from Reuters put the probability of a U.S. recession in the next 12 months at 35%, down from April's 45% peak, but still one of the highest readings since late 2023. Goldman Sachs put the odds at 30% back in June after a brief U.S.-China tariff truce eased some macro uncertainty. However, as we are all aware, these odds can shift overnight, and 30% odds of a recession hardly scream outside chance. If those odds swing higher again and layoffs spike before the 2026 midterms, incumbents in the tightest districts will have to defend a shrinking pie, while an America Party challenger could offer fresh thinking and new ideas. Any further tariff tensions could cause Goldman to revise the recession odds upwards again, potentially becoming the spark that lights the bonfire. The Financial Times likens them to Schrodinger's tariffs because the pain is invisible while companies burn through stockpiles. But once inventories run dry, price shocks can reemerge. Some are concerned that tariffs could ultimately result in a late 2025 burst of the dreaded S word, stagflation, where we have high prices in a slowing economy. This would replicate the exact kitchen table crisis that sank political incumbents in 1974 and 1980. And then there's the debt ceiling. Although we have established that voters mostly ignore Capitol Hill squabbles and debt ceiling debates, that narrative could shift if markets wobble and paychecks feel at risk. The Treasury's own primary dealers recently urged Washington to scrap the ceiling altogether, arguing that the ritual now does more to just raise borrowing costs and hurt the dollar's reserve status than to actually enforce discipline. With global dollar supremacy coming under increasing scrutiny, headline shifting from arcane procedure to real default fears could flip the narrative overnight, rewarding any newcomer who offers a permanent fix. Although far from ideal for the average member of the American public, any one of these stress points getting too loud before or after the 2026 midterms would likely result in a surge of support for third-party options. If the economy rolls over, tariffs bite households, or another debt ceiling circus spooks markets, America Party freshmen could secure seats. One question, though, is timing. Will such a chaotic opportunity arise while Musk is still hot in his latest idea? If the answer is yes, the next Congress might just feature a third-party logo on the seating chart. Not to mention one of crypto's loudest cheerleaders wielding some sway over the fiscal and regulatory debates. But this all begs the question, how might the markets actually react to Elon Musk's third party? Well, the Monday opening reaction following Musk's Independence Weekend tweets was anything but euphoric. BTC ended the day in red, slipping below $108,000 and erasing its weekend gains as tariff concerns overshadowed all other market factors. In fact, Tesla bore the brunt of the investor nerves. The stock dived around 7%, its worst day in a month, as traders fretted that yet another political side quest would stretch their dear leader's bandwidth still further. However, that stumble doesn't kill the bull case. It just shows that the bid comes with a volatility tax. If Musk's micro caucus actually reaches Congress and follows through on its BTC-friendly stance alongside Trump's explicitly pro-crypto regime, then crypto has even more forces working in its favor at the legislative level. The America Party could even help to protect crypto's future in the US, especially if its candidates manage to flip seats previously held by anti-crypto members of Congress. But the path is narrow. Markets need to see signatures filed, candidates vetted, and a realistic chance of steering legislation, not just viral tweets. Needless to say, market volatility climbs whenever odds of an unconventional outcome rise, the classic risk-off reflex to any significant uncertainty. If Musk musters enough candidates and these insurgents start polling high enough, markets would begin pricing this in. This, somewhat ironically, may sap the very liquidity that fuels crypto rallies. The middle ground is a bit messier, though. A handful of America Party freshmen could stall must-pass bills, injecting headline risks without delivering any political clarity. As mentioned, primary dealers have already warned that repeating debt ceiling theatrics adds a measurable premium to Treasury funding costs and chips away at the dollar's reserve status. In that gridlock case, we might see a defensive rotation and higher volatility, while crypto could oscillate between the tailwind of winning more friendly politicians in Congress and the drag of an overarching risk-off environment. However, given that this scenario would be questioning the US dollar itself, many would argue that digital gold may actually well benefit. At this stage, much of this remains speculation. Until the filings are in, the market's base case remains exactly what it was before Musk's fireworks: two-party Congress with a crypto-curious billionaire commenting from the sidelines. But as the initial market reaction from Musk's announcement shows, even speculation on developments of a third political party in the US are enough to move billions in one direction or the other. If the America Party pushes deeper into real ballots, you can expect market reactions to be enhanced, whether they're up or down. In sum then, Elon Musk's America Party may begin as a foot in the congressional door, not a run for electoral votes, but even that modest play could ripple far beyond Washington, D.C. We've seen how past insiders crack the system, how Musk's war chest and megaphone can give him an advantage in this modern effort, and how brutal ballot rules still stand in his way. While some crisis catalysts could tip voters toward a protest vote, if the America Party's time to shine only comes during market chaos, the net effect for crypto is far from clear. If Musk's plan to influence Congress pans out, the America Party won't need the Oval Office to shape policy. It'll already hold swing votes on budgets, tariffs, even the shape of the next crypto bill. But if the signatures stall, the economy remains steady, or Musk simply shifts focus to something other than the risks of US debt, the idea may fade as quickly as a meme coin. However, if you want to learn about the risks of US debt and what it may mean for BTC, then you could actually check out our video on that right over here. That's going to be it for this video though. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe to the channel down there. Like always, this is Lewis. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.